What if our reality is built upon a lie? What if the empty space between the stars is not empty at all? Imagine a hidden substance, a fifth element, one that connects everything in existence. It would be the cosmic ocean in which our universe swims. This is the story of Aether. It is the story of a lost truth. For millennia, our ancestors understood this fundamental principle. They saw it as the lifeblood of the cosmos, the invisible medium that carries light, life, and even thought itself across the vastness of space and time. It was the source of all energy and the foundation of all matter. This fifth element was not just a philosophical idea, it was a scientific reality for the brightest minds in history. They called it by many names. To the ancient Greeks, it was ether, the pure essence breathed by the gods. In Vedic traditions, it was akasha, the primordial substance from which all other elements emerged. This was the stuff of creation. It was the invisible web that bound the heavens to the earth. It connected the physical world to the spiritual realm. It was the missing piece of the puzzle of existence, a unifying force that modern science has spent a century trying to forget. But why did we forget? How could such a profound concept, a cornerstone of human understanding for thousands of years, simply vanish? The official story tells us that science moved on. It tells of failed experiments and new theories that made the ether obsolete. But is that the whole truth? Or is it a carefully constructed narrative designed to hide a deeper reality? The questions linger in the shadows of our accepted history. The evidence suggests that the ether was not disproven. It was deliberately erased. It was pushed aside to make way for a more limited, more controllable view of the universe. Today we stand at a crossroads. We are beginning to see the cracks in the official story. The neat and tidy theories of the 20th century are failing to explain the deepest mysteries of the cosmos. Scientists speak of dark matter and dark energy, placeholder names for a vast, unseen influence they cannot comprehend. Is it possible they are unknowingly describing the ether? Are they stumbling back towards an ancient truth they were taught to deny? The time has come to ask these forbidden questions. The time has come to rediscover the lost element and reclaim our cosmic heritage. The intellectual giants of our past did not see an empty void when they looked to the heavens. They saw a universe filled with potential. They saw the ether. The Greek philosopher Aristotle was among the first to formalize this idea. He proposed that while Earth was composed of four elements, earth, water, air, and fire, the celestial spheres were made of something different. He called this fifth substance ether. It was a perfect, unchanging, and divine element. It was the medium through which the planets and stars moved. For Aristotle, the universe was not a dead machine. It was a living, interconnected system, and ether was its soul. This idea was not confined to Greece. It resonated across cultures and through centuries. Sir Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, was a firm believer in the ether. His laws of gravity described how planets moved, but not why. What was the invisible force that reached across the vast emptiness of space to pull the Earth around the sun? Newton theorized that an ethereal medium was responsible. This medium was not just passive. He believed it was a dynamic, active substance, capable of transmitting forces like gravity and light. It was a far cry from the empty vacuum we are taught to imagine today. Even as we entered the age of electricity, the ether remained central to scientific thought. The great innovator Nikola Tesla saw the ether as the key to a new world. He believed it was a vast field of limitless energy, a cosmic engine waiting to be tapped. Tesla was not just a theorist, he was a practical inventor who sought to use this energy. He dreamed of transmitting power wirelessly through this ethereal medium, providing free energy for all of humanity. For Tesla, the ether was not an abstract concept, it was a tangible source of power that could transform our civilization and free us from our dependence on fossil fuels. These were not fringe thinkers, these were the architects of our modern understanding of the world. From the philosophical foundations of Aristotle, to the physical laws of Newton and the technological visions of Tesla, the ether was a constant. It was the unifying principle that made sense of the universe. It explained how light could travel, how gravity could act at a distance, and how energy could flow through the cosmos. To them, a universe without ether was illogical. It was an incomplete picture, a story with its most important chapter torn out. The question is, who tore it out? The dawn of the 20th century marked a turning point. A paradigm shift was coming, one that would cast the ether into the shadows of scientific history. The official story begins with a famous experiment. In 1887, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley conducted a series of tests to detect the ether wind. They reasoned that if the Earth was moving through a stationary ether, they should be able to measure a difference in the speed of light. They set up an ingenious device with mirrors and light beams. They expected to find clear evidence of this cosmic drift, but their experiment failed to find it. This null result sent shockwaves through the scientific community. It was interpreted as definitive proof that the ether did not exist. This single experiment became the cornerstone of a new scientific orthodoxy. It paved the way for Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity, which was published in 1905. Einstein's mathematics did not require an ether. He proposed that the speed of light was a constant in a vacuum, regardless of the observer's motion. The universe in his new model was a void. Space and time were interwoven into a single fabric, but the underlying medium, the ether, was gone. The new physics was elegant and powerful. It offered solutions to many nagging problems, but its acceptance came at a great cost. The concept of an interconnected energetic universe was replaced by a vision of a cold, empty vacuum. The ether was dismissed as a relic of old-fashioned thinking, a scientific mistake. Students were taught that the Michelson-Morley experiment was the final nail in the ether's coffin. Anyone who dared to question this new dogma was ridiculed. They were labeled as unscientific dreamers clinging to a failed idea. A century of accepted wisdom was overturned in just a few short years. However, a closer look at the history reveals a more complicated story. The Michelson-Morley experiment was not as conclusive as we are led to believe. Other scientists, such as Dayton Miller, conducted more extensive experiments and claimed to have detected a positive result, a small but consistent ether drift. Yet their findings were ignored. They did not fit the new narrative that was rapidly taking hold. Science, it seems, had already made up its mind. The ether had to go, and any evidence to the contrary was conveniently swept under the rug. The great forgetting had begun. Is it possible that the disappearance of ether theory was not just a simple scientific evolution? Could it have been a deliberate act of suppression? The questions are unsettling, but the circumstances demand we ask them. Consider the implications of a universe filled with a limitless source of energy. If Nikola Tesla was right, and the ether could be tapped for free, clean power, what would that mean for the emerging energy tycoons of the early 20th century? What would it mean for the powerful men who were building fortunes on oil, coal, and centralized power grids? A world of energy freedom was a direct threat to their business models. The story of Tesla's downfall is a cautionary tale. His primary financial backer was the banking magnate J.P. Morgan. Tesla's vision was to use his Wardenclyffe Tower to transmit wireless power across the globe, powered by the ether. When Morgan realized that this energy could not be metered and sold, he abruptly pulled his funding. The project collapsed. Tesla died in poverty, his greatest dream unrealized. Was this just a business decision, or was it a calculated act to suppress a technology that would have liberated humanity but destroyed existing power structures? The evidence points towards a deliberate sabotage of our energetic future. This pattern of suppression extends beyond just energy. Ether physics implies a deep connection between all things, including consciousness. It suggests that our minds are not isolated inside our skulls, but are part of a universal field. This idea has profound spiritual and philosophical implications. It empowers the individual. It suggests that our thoughts and intentions can directly influence reality. Such a worldview is a threat to any system that relies on controlling the population through fear, division, and a sense of powerlessness. A materialistic science, which portrays humans as random accidents in a meaningless universe, is far easier to manage. We must therefore consider the possibility that ether science was not just forgotten, but actively buried. It was deemed too revolutionary, too disruptive, and too empowering. The new physics of Einstein, while brilliant, provided a safer, more mechanistic view of the cosmos. It removed the spooky and unpredictable elements of an energetic, conscious universe. It created a scientific paradigm that supported the industrial and economic systems of the 20th century. The ether became a forbidden knowledge, a dangerous idea that had to be locked away from the public mind for the sake of control. So what is this mysterious substance that haunted the dreams of our greatest minds? The ether is described as the fundamental reality that underlies everything we see. It is not empty space. Instead, it's a dynamic, energetic medium, denser than steel yet so fine that it passes through all matter. Ancient traditions saw it as the primordial element, the akasha from which earth, water, fire, and air are born. You could say it's the canvas upon which the universe is painted. It is the ultimate source of all matter and energy. The ether is the cosmic ocean in which our galaxy is just a tiny ripple. Modern interpretations have tried to give it new names. Some physicists suggest it could be a form of plasma, an electrified gas that fills the universe. Plasma is actually the most abundant state of matter, making up over 99% of the visible universe. Stars, nebulae, and the space between them are all filled with this charged substance. It behaves in ways that are, honestly, remarkably similar to the descriptions of the ether. It is energetic, it carries waves, and it forms complex, filamentary structures that look a lot like the cosmic web. Perhaps our ancestors were simply describing this universal plasma in the language of their time. But the ether is said to be more than just energy. It is described as a medium for spirit and consciousness. Mystical traditions teach that the ether or akasha holds a record of every event, thought, and emotion that has ever occurred. This is the Akashic record, a cosmic library of all knowledge. In this view, the ether is not just a physical substance, it is intelligent. It is a conscious field that connects every mind in the universe. Our brains are not generators of consciousness but receivers. They are biological antennas, tuning into the universal consciousness that permeates the ether. And this leads to the most profound implication of all. If the ether is conscious, then the universe is alive. It is not a cold, dead machine running on random chance. It is a living, breathing, intelligent organism. Everything within it, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, is part of this cosmic consciousness. The ether is the bridge between the world of mind and the world of matter. It is the medium through which intention becomes reality. It is the hidden force that responds to our thoughts and shapes the world around us. It is, in a sense, the secret of creation itself. If an advanced understanding of ether existed in the ancient past, where is the evidence? The clues are scattered across the globe, hidden in plain sight within the myths, texts, and megalithic structures of our ancestors. The Vedic texts of ancient India speak of vimanas, flying machines that were powered by an unknown force. These texts describe complex propulsion systems that seem to harness atmospheric or ethereal energy. They speak of mercury vortex engines and forces that sound remarkably like advanced physics. Were these just myths, or were they manuals for a lost technology based on the ether? Look to ancient Egypt. Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza. Mainstream archaeology tells us it was a tomb, built with primitive copper tools and brute force. But this explanation defies logic and engineering. Alternative researchers propose a different function. They suggest the pyramid was a massive energy machine. Its precise geometric design, its construction with granite containing quartz crystals, and its internal chambers all point to a sophisticated purpose. Could the pyramid have been designed to resonate with the Earth's natural frequencies, to draw in and concentrate ethereal energy for a variety of purposes, from power generation to spiritual initiation? The evidence is not limited to India and Egypt. In Greece, the oracle at Delphi was said to receive prophecies from vapors rising from a fissure in the rock. Was this just a volcanic gas? Or was the oracle a sensitive individual, attuned to the informational field of the ether, using a specific geological location as an amplifier? In China, the ancient practice of feng shui is based on manipulating the flow of a life force energy called qi. This qi is described as a vital energy that flows through the landscape and our bodies. Is qi just another name for the ether? We even find tantalizing hints of a lost high-tech civilization in the legends of Tartaria. Old maps show a vast empire covering much of Asia, filled with magnificent cities and advanced architecture. These cities feature strange metallic antennas and domes, structures that seem ill-suited for simple decoration. Proponents of this theory suggest that these were part of a global, ether-based energy grid. They argue that this civilization was wiped from the history books after a great cataclysm, its technology lost or suppressed. The fragments of this knowledge, they say, survived in the esoteric traditions of the world, waiting to be rediscovered. The quest to harness the ether did not die with Nikola Tesla, it simply went underground. Throughout the 20th century and into the 21st, a handful of brave and often ridiculed inventors and scientists have continued this forbidden work. They claim to have developed technologies that tap into this limitless energy field. These devices are often called free energy generators or zero-point energy converters. They are said to produce more energy than they consume, drawing power directly from the fabric of space itself. Men like T. Henry Murray and Thomas Townsend Brown reported creating such devices, only to face suppression and disbelief. One of the most fascinating areas of modern ether research involves scalar waves and torsion fields. These are theoretical types of waves that are said to travel through the ether itself, not through conventional spacetime. Unlike normal electromagnetic waves like radio waves, scalar waves are said to be longitudinal. They are described as ripples in the density of the ether. Russian scientists in particular have conducted extensive research into these torsion fields. They claim these fields can transmit information instantly across any distance, affect biological processes, and even influence gravity. This sounds remarkably like the magical forces described in ancient texts. Another controversial figure in this field was Wilhelm Reich, a psychoanalyst and scientist who claimed to have discovered a universal life force he called orgone energy. Reich believed this energy was the same as the ether. He built devices called orgone accumulators, simple boxes made of alternating layers of organic and metallic material. He claimed these boxes could concentrate this life energy, promoting healing and well-being. The medical establishment fiercely attacked Reich. His books were burned, and he was imprisoned, where he eventually died. Yet, his ideas persist, with many people today building and experimenting with his orgone technology. These modern claims are often dismissed as pseudoscience by the mainstream, however they refuse to go away. The inventors and researchers in this field are the modern alchemists. They are working on the fringes of accepted science, often with limited resources and in the face of intense skepticism. From free energy generators to scalar wave communicators and orgone healing devices, their work points to a single powerful idea. The ether is real, its energy can be harnessed, and this technology could change our world in ways we can barely begin to imagine. The revolution Tesla dreamed of is still waiting in the wings. For a century, mainstream science has worked hard to keep the ether buried, but the universe is full of surprises. The deeper we peer into the cosmos and the quantum realm, the more the old certainties begin to crumble. The neat, empty vacuum of Einstein's universe is looking less and less empty. Scientists have been forced to invent new concepts to explain their observations. They speak of dark matter to explain why galaxies don't fly apart. They speak of dark energy to explain why the universe's expansion is accelerating. These two mysterious forces are said to make up 95% of the universe. What if dark matter and dark energy are not new discoveries at all? What if they are simply modern science's reluctant rediscovery of the ether? The properties they assign to these dark forces are strikingly similar to the properties of the classical ether. It is an invisible, all-pervading medium that has gravitational effects and contains a vast amount of energy. Scientists are tying themselves in mathematical knots trying to explain these phenomena without using the forbidden A word. They are circling back to the very ideas they once ridiculed, forced by their own data to confront the possibility of a universal energy field. The evidence is also mounting in the world of quantum physics. The concept of quantum entanglement shows that two particles can be linked in such a way that they affect each other instantly, no matter how far apart they are. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance. How is this possible in an empty vacuum? It only makes sense if there is an underlying medium, an ether, that connects them. Furthermore, quantum field theory itself describes space as a seething cauldron of virtual particles flashing in and out of existence. This quantum foam sounds very much like another name for a dynamic, energetic ether. Even the core symbol of our esoteric past, the spiral, is now being seen in the structure of the cosmos. Scientists observe that galaxies tend to arrange themselves in vast, spiraling filaments. This cosmic web looks just like the energetic patterns seen in cymatics, where sound vibrations create geometric forms in a medium. It seems that on every scale, from the quantum to the cosmic, the universe is revealing its hidden structure. It is telling us that space is not a void. It is a plenum, a vibrant and dynamic medium. Science may call it the quantum foam or the zero-point field, but it is the ether returning to our understanding under a new guise. The rediscovery of the ether is not just an academic debate, it is the key to the future of humanity. The implications are staggering, touching every aspect of our lives. Imagine a world where energy is no longer scarce. If we can learn to tap the limitless ocean of etheric energy, as Tesla dreamed, it would mean the end of our reliance on polluting fossil fuels. It would mean free, clean power for every person on the planet. This would end poverty, transform economies, and heal our damaged environment. Energy freedom is the foundation of true human freedom. The potential for healing is just as profound. If our bodies are energetic systems, interconnected with the etheric field, then new forms of medicine become possible. Practices like acupuncture, Reiki, and sound healing, which work with the body's energy field, would finally be understood and integrated. We could develop technologies that use frequency and vibration to restore the body to its natural state of health, treating the root cause of illness rather than just the symptoms. It would be a shift from a purely chemical model of medicine to a holistic, vibrational one, where consciousness itself is the ultimate healing tool. And what about travel? If the ether is the medium that carries all forces, including gravity, then learning to manipulate it could lead to revolutionary forms of propulsion. We could develop technologies that neutralize gravity or create localized distortions in the fabric of space-time. This would make travel to the stars, a dream that seems so distant, a tangible reality. It would open up the cosmos to us, not through brute force rocket power, but through an elegant and harmonious interaction with the fundamental forces of the universe. We would become true citizens of the cosmos. The return of the ether is the return of magic to our world. It reconnects us to the universe and to each other. It reminds us that we are not isolated beings on a lonely rock, but integral parts of a living, conscious cosmos. It empowers us, showing that our thoughts, intentions, and collective consciousness can shape our reality. The ancient knowledge is resurfacing. Modern science is stumbling towards it. The choice is ours. We can cling to the old, limited paradigm, or we can embrace the promise of the ether and step into a future of unimaginable potential. Everything is about to change.